Who else? Jonathan Dennis is really close. He may not play in this game, but he may be ready for game 2 or 3. Chase Smith is cleared, and he's been repping with all the groups on special teams and on defense. I would say Zion is going to be held back a little bit more. We expect him back, just not yet. And we just want to be really, we've taken this long to get it right. We want to get it right completely. Aside from that, I can't think of maybe Antonio Tripp, because he's still about 3 weeks out due to his shoulder stuff. But aside from that, we feel like we're a pretty healthy team going in.
Coach, now now since the start of your second season here, flashback to a year ago, what is, changes that you've seen in the team that, you've seen some progression on from a year out at this point?
Well, just about in every aspect, right? I mean, starts with personnel, right, in the locker room. It goes on to your staff members, right, what you've done on the second floor as well as the first floor. Schematically, I would say internally the DNA of our team has improved tremendously from a competitive standpoint. And I think when you create competition at certain positions, when you continue to flood the building with good people, with the right intentions that like to work hard, it's a good match. It has to fit, and the operation, the blueprint brought in here is one that's designed for people that really like to work hard, that love football. If you don't love that, it's probably going to be a tough deal. Probably won't be very pleasant. But that being said, what you see is a team that has spent a lot of time together, like invested real time, real work. And because of that, I think you see a stronger, more effective and impactful leadership council. Systematically, we feel like we're better suited to our personnel, but there's really not much talk that needs to be added, right? Let's go play football. Let's find out where we're at, play to the best of our abilities, and keep progressing as a program.
When we spoke a few weeks ago to Coach Dawson, he talked about kind of building more timing and sync in the passing game between the quarterbacks and the receivers. How's that been going over the past few weeks?
Yeah, it's been progressing well. I know I use that word a lot. Progressing, but I think you said it really well. I mean, it's timing, it's spacing, distribution, precision, right? And time invested couldn't apply more to much else than it does to the passing game, due to the fact that those guys, they have to know each other's next move, right? There's so much of the passing game is based on those guys having like a real connection, and having repped it so many times that they've done it to the point where they can't do it wrong, really. So we've seen a lot of progress. There's trust in it. I think at this time last year, we were struggling with trust and confidence in the passing game. And right now, we feel like it's one of the stronger parts of our team.
And also including the tight ends with that as far as catching passes.
We do. We feel the tight ends are very versatile. We think that they can protect. They can run deep routes. They're good in the intermediate game. They're good blockers. They're good on the ball, they're good off the ball, they're good detached. I think that you have a versatile group of different body types ranging from 225 to 265 that can do a lot of different things for you and provide some versatility offensively.
Skinner and Arroyo, ready to go?
Skinner and Arroyo, right now, they seem ready to go.
Coach, can you expand more about Miami of Ohio's offense and just what stands out to you about Brett Guidry?
Well, he does it all, right? He's an excellent passer. He's a tough and physical and fast, explosive runner. Great feel for the system. He makes the magic happen for them. Great feel for the entire the culture of the organization. You can tell he's one of their primary leaders, and it shows in the way that he plays the game. It shows in the production that he's had, and certainly I know they count a lot on him. But he's surrounded by a great supporting cast now. He's not doing it by himself. He has some really good players around him.
Can you characterize where things are at physicality-wise on the line of scrimmage? Was there a good back and forth from what you saw?
There has been. I think, you got to play a game to really, start getting a gauge for where you're at. Have we enhanced the body types? I think you've had a chance to see that, right? Where certainly there's been a buzz about that kind of stuff, but we bring those guys back down to earth. The buzz, for the trenches, that doesn't mean much, right? You got to put your hand in the dirt. You got to go play. And we're playing against a team that defensively is known for knocking back the run and pressuring the quarterback. I mean, their third down packages are as exotic as it gets. A lot of pressure, a lot of athleticism on the edge, and a lot of stunts and games inside, making things very difficult. So, for us, we feel that both the defensive side and the offensive side have improved because, yeah, they had a great summer, but we also, you know, had an opportunity to enhance our personnel. And that personnel has been going head-to-head and toe-to-toe for an entire, I guess, 8-9 months now, you know, in their player-led workouts, in spring practice, in fall camp. You know, today was a perfect example. We have three sets throughout the course of practice where the ones go against the ones and twos go against the twos, and you see legitimate battles and competitions. So that's going to pay off for us, we think, you know, now and in the big picture, in the long run. But we're enthused about what we're seeing. Let's go make it happen. You know?
Mario, having said that, with that position group, specifically offensive line, you know, you've needed to upgrade that. It starts there. Is that where you'll see right away the guys when you throw them in there, who can cut it, who can't? You've got a pretty good idea. Like you said, you have a pretty good idea, but when the lights come on, is that what you're really looking for?
Well, you're looking for performance across the board. You know, when you say what we'll see, you know, that's like a prediction. I'm never going to predict any aspect of the game. Do we feel confident in our advances and our progress? Absolutely. As a program, we do. We feel confident that we've worked hard. We feel confident that we're working and earning our way to playing better. And that's where we like to leave it before a game. I don't, you know, like to talk much about what I know the way we work. I know the investment of the players, whether it be in the film room, the practice field, all that stuff. So yeah, it's consistently just getting better and better. But we need to go play football. We're not on game day yet, but we're going to get there, and Miami will be ready.
Coach, I imagine the returning players, I'm looking at this is kind of Middle Tennessee State game. Are they inspiring the youngsters, the 42 new guys, to step up to this one?
I don't think that's relevant to our game this week, but I respect your question.
Mario, how does this freshman class compare to others you've had in terms of their drive to compete and excel?
Well, there's going to be a lot of guys playing. You'll see that. I mean, it's, you know, what's funny, I know Cam has a responsibility of asking for a chart, like a depth chart, who's playing what. It's hard to tell, you know, because there's a lot of guys that are going to be splitting time. Some guys are going to be in there after one series, some after two. And if a guy gets hot, we're going to roll with him, okay? And you're playing guys that have earned playing time. And, you know, we did a good job in recruiting some high-level talent, and they know what they're doing. They've been coached well in high school. What they lack is experience, so that part, you know, you got to see what happens on game day. That comes with the lights being on and live play and going against experienced guys. It's an experienced team we're playing against, you know. But our intention, our plan is, you know, we plan on playing all the guys, young or old, been here for a while or just got here, that have earned the right to play, right? We're not just giving away playing time, and that give us a chance to be successful and win a football game.
Also, it's often said that between game 1 and game 2, you see the biggest improvement, you know, during game 2.
Let's play game 1.
What was that?
Let's play game 1.
Exactly. So tell me about game 1. You've been a coach for so long. For some kids, it's their first game ever. You know, what are some common threads that you can see and understand? Maybe tackling is rusty or whatever. What are some things, coaches?
Well, I think until you play the game, you really don't know. It's always a fear, right? Special teams, substitutions, organization, right? All that kind of stuff. So you work at it. You try to simulate those situations in practice. You go live headsets. You orchestrate, and you set up your scrimmages and your live play so that it feels as much as a game as it could possibly be. But in terms of when the lights come on or whatnot, you know, you recruit coaches and players that are attracted to the big stage and the bright lights, so that if there's an error, it's not because of stage fright or because of lack of time invested or preparation or whatnot. It's because, hey, you know, we just happen not to do well on this play. So that's what we want. Now, again, when you play, well, we'll leave it at that. You know, that's good.
Handling adversity, can you tell yet before a season begins how a team will respond to adverse situations, or is that only something you can tell?
I think it's hard. I think that's hard to, you know, and you really wish you can predict that part. What you can see in practice is the flow of practice, right? If the defense is beating down the offense, does the offense have that response mechanism to say, hey man, enough's enough? we're going to put our foot in the ground and we're going to go. We're going to get this done. Or do they just kind of, wave the white flag? Do they roll over? And what we've seen in practice so far is a team that's willing to dig deep and fight and turn the momentum, right? Hardest thing in college football is to get momentum and then keep momentum or to turn momentum. So we've seen a team that has shown growth in that part as it relates to practice, okay? I always tell, and I kid our strength coach all the time, we have a great strength and conditioning program, but the weights don't push back, The cones and the whistles, they don't push back, right? When you're running sprints and all the other stuff you do. Football, people, humans, it's resistance, right? It pushes back. So it's a great question, and looking forward to finding out.
Mario, with all the uncertainty that comes with the first game, how much of a relief or how much of a comfort is to have a guy like Van Dyke back there running your offense?
Well, it's guys like that are hard to find, right? That have experience. That and the thing that sticks out about him, again, there's a guy that wanted to be here, right, and went through a tough time because, number one, he's a competitor. Number two, he loves Miami. And number three, he understands where Miami is going. So to have a guy like that understands what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, why it's being done, and is willing to go at it, 1,000 miles per hour every single day it's awesome. He's got a great supporting cast too, which I think has really helped. And that's where we see a lot of growth, not only in him, but in our team.
Special teams, the punter, you got a new punter, and last year, you had such a great one for a while. How much of an unknown is that? Obviously, how are you feeling about that?
I mean, he looks great in practice. He looks great when we recruited him. Lou is special, right? I mean, Lou's a game changer. If you look at how many times he flipped the field, and whatnot, and certain times last year we didn't take advantage of it like we could have. I mean, he caused some he forced some errors with the way he put a spin on the ball and the way he made it flip over and whatnot, and where he put it on the field. So, but we feel very confident in what we've seen, and now also year two schematically with what we do, we feel the advances in what we do and how we do it is going to help us. It's going to help our punter. It's going to help our kicker. I think it's neat to. If you notice, Andy's bigger, Andy and big are probably not a synonymous, thought, but Andy has put on, about 16, 18 pounds. And the ball's, it's rocketing off his leg, okay? And he is accurate, and he's accountable, and he's fun to be around. I mean, that guy is, we're excited for him. Mason has done a great job snapping the ball as well. We feel like we have a seasoned, dependable specialist group, I should say.
What have you liked about the competition at quarterback throughout fall camp, and just how do you feel about that position heading into week one?
I love the fact, okay, we haven't talked about it much, that both Emery and Jakari have stepped up big time, where those guys have shown that they can play winning football. And their grasp of the offense, their ownership of our scheme, and they're just continual, their approach to the game is continuing to take steps, continues to elevate, which makes you feel good about the present. God forbid there's a situation, and makes you feel really good about the future as well.
Anything else for Coach Cristobal?
Good. All right. Guys, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
The offense has made progressively from spring to fall, and where do you feel you're at going into the season?
We'll see Friday, right? I mean, I think that we've progressed well, in my opinion, in practice. Practice is different than games, and so we'll see where we're at when we play Friday. I mean, I expect kids to do the same thing they've been doing at practice, but, you know, it doesn't always correlate. Sometimes it does.
How's the timing and the sync looking in the passing game, quarterbacks and receivers the last couple of weeks?
It looks good. I mean, our passing game has come along. You know, we need, obviously, you know, we're not sitting here, and I've said this multiple times, we don't have a 100 reception guy coming back, right? So we got to find out who our dudes are, and I think we have a good idea, but I think that I'd like to be pleasantly surprised by some guys too, right? So, you know, got to make plays in games. You know, that's the facts, and so.
And how's the running game going, and do you have a good idea how you're going to be able to balance the passing and running attack?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fairly easy. I mean, we have a group of running backs that are really talented. It's probably, you know, one of the more talented rooms we have, to be honest with you. And so I feel good about multiple guys playing. It will be running back by committee. I mean, somebody's got to run out there first, obviously. But I mean, we have multiple guys that can carry the rock. So it will be running back by committee, and balancing that. You know, it's pretty easy. I mean, if you're having success, keep doing what you're doing, and if you're not, change it.
At the tight end position, obviously Elijah's got talent. What have you seen from Jaleel and what he can do?
You know, Jaleel's a very athletic kid. You know, he's probably, as far as routes and speed and all that stuff, I mean, he's, you know, really, really good. Jaleel just needs to gain weight and just eat and work out, you know, because all the other stuff is pretty easy for him. You know, if he gets bigger, which he will, he needs to follow me around and eat what I eat, and he'll be fine. I don't know how hard is it, you know? I mean, yeah, right? See, some of you guys have the same issue.
How's Elijah Royal at this point?
He's good. He's, you know, I'm excited about Elijah, to be honest with you. He's very talented, very versatile guy, and very confident guy. You know, I'm excited to watch him play.
I see, at least from our limited availability, we hadn't really seen him out there at all. I know he did not play in the scrimmage we saw at Hard Rock.
Mm-hmm.
How much has he actually gotten in there and practiced?
He's been practicing as much as anybody else. I mean, you know, we roll people through there, especially in groups that are deep. You know, if you asked me how many reps, I wouldn't be able to tell you that. But I mean, it's the same way with running backs. I mean, we roll 4 people in. I mean, you could look out there and see 4 different guys with the ones. You know.
What stands out about Miami of Ohio's defense, just from what you've seen?
Very sound. I mean, they're not overly complicated on first and second down, which I'll be honest with you. You say that, and I don't know how people take it, but some of the best defenses I've gone against in my career have been fairly simple defenses, you know, and they know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, they know where you're going to attack them. They're very, very, very experienced. They got a lot of returning starters back. They do a great job of stopping the run. I mean, that's proven almost every game they play, besides a couple outliers. But ultimately, they're going to stop the run. You know, in their mind, they're going to stop the run. And so we have to be physical. You know, we have to be very precise route running and timing, because there are windows there, but they're not big. You know, those guys understand what coverage they play and where you're going to attack them. And so efficiency is key, you know. It's just when you play a very experienced defense that really doesn't do a whole lot, they're typically pretty good at what they do, you know. And so you just got to strategically attack them and keep plugging away, really.
It seems like this freshman class is very driven, very competitive. So what have you seen? How can they compare to, you know, other freshman classes that you've coached?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think they're probably more talented than a lot of them, but, you know, I think you're going to see a lot of them play. That's the key. You know, it's hard to play as a freshman. And so, you know, a lot of those guys have proven in camp that we can trust them and have proven that they can make plays. Again, there's a threshold of of making plays in practice and making plays in the game. That's why when coaches talk about experience, that's what experience means, right? That people have made a lot of plays in the game and have banked a lot of reps. Well, we have some guys that haven't. And so what you can expect is, you're going to have some issues, I mean, they're not going to go out there and be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect. Nobody is. So we got to weather some ups and downs, and we got to make more plays than we don't.
You talked a little bit about a number one receiver, 100 reception kind of guy. Is that something that you allow? You've had guys put up some pretty monster stats in past seasons. Is that something that happens organically?
Yeah, it does.
Or can you kind of steer that with your play calling?
Well, I mean, I think it happens both. I mean, they rise organically, because ultimately you sit there and you play games and you practice, you play games and you practice, and ultimately there's some consistency that wins over time with certain guys. And so organically they become the better players. Now, with that being said, then you have to start putting them in position where they get targeted more because defenses are going to take them away more. So the more clout a guy has, with opposing teams and nationally, the more recognition he's going to have as far as what they're going to try to take away. So that becomes more of a game plan deal of trying to hide him and trying to move him around. But ultimately they raise, the cream's going to rise on its own, organically. But then you got to kind of cultivate it in a way where he keeps getting touches.
Guidry and Jakari showed as the backups this fall camp?
I think both of them have taken major strides, to be honest with you. They're both, working on different things. Like everybody, nobody's the same, right? And so Emory is one of the guys that my man was talking about over here. Obviously he's a freshman, right? And so this is his first year in college, and, there's things that come along with that are different than people that have been here for 2 or 3 years. And so learning the offense, obviously, they're both here when I got here, and so they both have a really good grasp on what we're doing. Been very pleased with both of them, I feel confident with both of those guys, to be honest with you.
Anything else? All right, Coach, thank you for your time.
It's easy, guys. Huh?
Easy money.
Next week won't be so
Folks, got my Defensive Coordinator Lance Guidry here. If you have questions, jump right in.
Coach, you've coached at Miami of Ohio, and so just you're kind of aware of what their program is about and the type of players they attract. What can you share about your time there and what you learned from that program?
Being a Louisiana boy, I didn't really know much about Miami of Ohio. I remember watching Ben Roethlisberger in a bowl game one time, and when I got the call to go there with Mike Haywood, I found out a lot about it. It's Cradle of Coaches, and you go and you look at the wall, and you see all the coaches that have been there. Woody Hayes, Eric Porsegan, Bo Schembechler, and you see the assistants, Sean Payton, Tressel, coach there. It's a who's who for us coaches. Really good institution, very good academically, and it attracts a lot of kids from the Cincinnati and Ohio area. And we was able to get some kids from Houston and off of really the Virginia, the Tidewater area, and we had a good football team. So I enjoyed my stay there, and I liked Cincinnati. Cincinnati was close by, so it was good to me.
Coach, you come in, this obviously this is your first year, and it's kind of been like molding clay for you with all new personnel. How do you feel going into the season about just how you've been able to put the defense together?
You know, I think they have a grasp of most of it. What we're going to do just depends on what I think they do well. You really don't know when you're installing, going against the offense. They're always changing things. So I think we got a good idea of what we can do well, and we'll go from there. And it's going to be adjusting every week according to our personnel and who we're playing against.
What do you see from Miami, Ohio's offense and some of the biggest challenges there?
Quarterback's real shifty. He's a competitor. He's what I call a gym rat. If he was a basketball player, you know, he's a guy that would be a point guard. He really runs the show. He doesn't throw a lot of bad passes. He'll tuck the ball and run. And because he's not a real big guy, you lose him sometime in there. So he's a general. You know, their skilled guys are shifty, not overly big. Offensive line's pretty big, and so we got a challenge ahead of us. We'll have to play well and play hard.
You know, Cristobal and Dawson both mentioned that obviously there's a lot of young players on this team that are going to be earning playing time. You see it the same way with your defense?
Yeah, sure. We got some young guys. It'll be their first times getting some reps, and but they'll get plenty of it. We're going to need them too. We need a bunch of guys to play. We're not going to be able to just roll the older guys. So I'm excited to see some of the younger guys underneath the lights. It's going to be fun.
A lot of guys were in the mix for the cornerback spots during camp. Who have been the guys who maybe kind of risen to the top, you know, now the camp's finished?
That's still the top kind of 5 guys, the Brown brothers, Porter, along with Davis, and then the Richard kid. TC's kind of playing the nickel right now. But it's been a revolving door. I think we'll have to play all of them and just kind of find out through the year which ones, you know, are playing the best and go from there. But they all deserve the right to play.
I think their OC is in his first year in that role, but he's been there for 10 years now. What type of challenge does that pose, and do you expect it to look totally different than what you've seen on tape? Or?
You don't know. You really don't know. You go. He's been there with them, so we're preparing for what we've seen in the past, and so you break down all the games and you go over those plays. But I'm sure there's going to be some things, some wrinkles in that football game that we haven't prepared for. We'll have to get adjusted quick. So a lot of times you got to play a lot of vanilla defenses or base defenses in order to get things fixed. But we'll see how the game goes and see, you know, what's kind of their attitude of how they're going to attack us. Will they go fast? Will they huddle? Will they do a bunch of crazy formations? We just don't know. So we're just working everything that we've seen on film. That's all you can do.
Do you coach from the press box or the field?
I'm from the field.
You're on the field.
Yes, sir.
Coach, talk a little bit about Cam Kitchens, you know, coming back as a reigning All-American. Has he taken up in a leadership role in this team, or just, you know, some thoughts on Kitchens going into this year?
Of course, I don't know Cam before this year. So, I mean, all I can do is judge by what I see. But he makes a bunch of plays at practice. He's not a very vocal guy, but he's always given great effort. And I think he'll be the leader by the way he plays. And he's already doing it by the way he practices. So he's had a good week of practice, last 2 weeks actually, and I think he'll play well in game 1. He's making a bunch of plays out there.
How's the weak side linebacker competition going with the Saint and Floyd?
There's a bunch of them. It's revolving. Really, you know, you've got Kiko, who's the Mike, and he plays a little bit of Will also, but all the other guys are rotating at Mikes and Wills. We're just trying to get as much depth as we can, and whoever goes out there is going to have to play like a 1. So we'll see who plays the best, and whoever's playing the best will probably play the most reps.
How much do you think, I mean, obviously a lot of guys are going to be rotating in at defensive tackle, but Brandon seems like somebody who's really kind of elevated himself, you know, during camp. How much is he going to be on the field, and how much does he affect the game? You know,
Branson is real twitchy. He's not a very tall guy, but he's very powerful. He's fast. He's probably the best in shape because he's smaller than the rest of them. So he'll probably be able to play the most reps just because he's in shape, probably a little bit more than the rest. But really good football player. I think he'll make a ton of plays this year, rushing the passer, and probably some disruptive plays in the backfield and running backs.
Akeem Mesidor, how is he holding up? How's he doing? And that rotation you have, you know, like defensive end.
He's doing really well. Of course, he was one of the guys that was out this spring, and but we've kind of held him a little bit at times in camp. But he's full go now. he looks fine to me. He looks like he's always looked. You know, from what I saw on film last year, that's what he looks like. So I expect him to have a good year. Everything seems to be a go with him this week.
And the rotation there, it just seems pretty darn good, right, at the end?
There's a bunch of guys, you know. Of course, Najalik is a guy that's really stood out. Bang, the freshman, you know. Chance Williams. There's just a bunch of guys. Jaden Wayne's going to get some snaps. So I'm excited to see them underneath the lights and see who plays the best. Sometimes the young guys you don't know. You know, sometimes it takes them a while in college football for things to slow down. So game day is going to be different for them than they've ever seen it.
What kind of advice do you give the youngest guys? You know, they're going to be all hyped up. What's the fine line between being hyped up and being calm?
Just don't try to do too much. You know, just play within the defense. Do what you've seen on film. And just stick to that, and you'll usually be fine. As the season goes, because freshmen are like that. I remember when I was a freshman. You think about everything that could happen, trying to make a play. And when you kind of go back and you do what you're supposed to do, the plays end up finding you. You don't have to go find the play. So I think they'll be fine. But that's the biggest thing. Just stick it to the game plan and don't ad-lib and do your own thing.
Also, I asked Mario, I mean, between the first and second game, I always hear that there's the biggest improvement, right, before the second game. What do you expect as a coach for the first game? What are some of the things that might happen?
Well, you know, you want to tackle well, and you preach about it all the time, and you don't tackle a lot at practice, and then you get in the first game, and you're preaching about it, and early on, you're probably not going to tackle real well because you're going to, you know, overshoot or overrun some things. But if you get a lot of people run to the football, it makes up for it. So effort has always been the key to tackling for me. And through the course of the year, you'll become better tacklers, but you got to play with great effort in order to get guys down on the ground.
Were you comfortable at the close of camp with where the run defense was in general?
You know, the first scrimmage wasn't good. The second scrimmage was really good. I think they had one run. That was a big run with the ones. Other than that, the ones didn't give up too much. So, you know, I think we'll be okay. I think we've got a lot of different things we can do on defense, and I'm excited. You got to stop the run. That's number one. You know, a lot of people worried about our size, but I think if you know, do different things up front for us, slanting, angling, and bringing pressure, you can kind of eliminate gaps that way. And not too many people are really, really, really big to where they just sit there and play. You know, the Alabamas of the world, the Georgia that's bigger than everybody, they kind of beat up on everybody. But everybody else has to find movement in order to stop the run.
Talk a little bit about James Williams and how schematically he gives you a lot of different options with his skill set and the way you can move him around.
Yeah, you know, he's a guy who can play a couple positions. He can play the boundary safety or play the Sam backer. So he's a guy that's going to create depth at another position wherever it is. He's playing boundary safety for us, but he'll play some Sam throughout the year. It's just we'll probably pick and choose what games he'll play an outside linebacker, which one he'll be dedicated just playing back there at the safety position.
Is that going to be kind of like game by game decision, or is it going to be almost like a package by package? You know?
It's going to be game by game, you know, how we feel like matchups and different things, whether it's a tight end we need to cover with a outside linebacker, or do we want to blitz a bigger guy because he's bigger than all the, you know, the Sam backers. So it'll be game by game.
At corner, it seems like you have a lot of body types and different skill sets. Do you match those week to week to week based on the wide receiver personnel, or is it kind of these are our guys, they're going to play the most? And
yeah, I mean, you can. If you're going to face a bunch of big receivers, you need some big bodies, of course. But just in general, normal size, you want to play the guys that are kind of hot, you know. The game usually comes down to if you're stopping the run, people are going to start throwing to the outside. And they're going to throw it to the outside, and you got to play the back shoulder and all that. And longer guys are usually better at it. But if a guy that's shorter that's really got a knack for playing the football, you know, they're good at it. I had two last year that were really good. They wasn't real big, but they knew, you know, what their deficiencies was. And that's probably the most important thing. You know what you don't do well or what you need to do and cover it up by a technique or playing off or press bail, whatever it may be.
Anything else for Coach? All right, Coach, thank you for your time.
Easy group.